Hello and welcome to the very first iRacing Flatchat visual podcast. I'm your host, Jaycie Richards, and with me tonight, via the magic of Skype, are your iRacing Flatchat VIPs, Matthew Norris, who is looking quite royal in that Game of Thrones-esque chair that you have there, the iRacing edition, mate. How you going?
It's a good one. I love it.
Yep. It's good stuff, mate. And also Mr. Christopher Kessie. Hello, mate. You're looking pretty good there for someone who stayed up till 4 a.m. Hosting Drunken Marbles Twitch streams with international guests and everything.
With Chris A.
Chris A, if you're watching, hello. But speaking of internationals, we're joined by the men in the middle of the most recent Oz International Sim Racing merger. Firstly, we have the manager of Apex Racing UK, all the way from the United Kingdom, Alex Simpson. Welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for coming on the show at this time of the morning for yourself.
Yeah, hi guys. Good to be here.
And also joining us from Melbourne, where they just hosted the recent F1 race. Someone that everyone in Australia probably knows, the manager and team owner there at ERT, Brenton O'Brien, mate. Thanks for joining us to have a chat today.
Well, don't accuse me of being from Melbourne, mate. A few hours north of Melbourne, but yeah, in Victoria. So yeah, good to be here. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, guys, we're all on the show today. And again, thanks for being on our first ever visual podcast. We're all looking quite dapper, especially you, Brenton, in that marvellous shirt.
Thank you.
Looking good.
I wonder where he got the design work from.
Yeah, Chaz Mostert.
Yeah.
But we're all here to talk about, obviously, the great news that you guys have with bringing the two teams together. It was a bit of a shock move, almost like a Daniel Ricciardo to Renault, and in a way that no one really expected it. Look, in saying that, we had Jared Filsell on probably about 3 weeks before this merger was announced, and before he announced his arrival at ERT, going from, obviously, Trans-Tasman Racing, the most dominant force in Scops in the last couple of years, obviously. But you guys with ERT and Apex have merged together. You put out a little bit of a press release about it, but what's the backstory, guys? What's the reason behind this merger, and what do you? We really want to find out what you both are benefiting from this particular relationship that you guys are forming. But yeah, Brenton, what's your story, mate? How come? What's the move to Apex, and what are you trying to do with ERT in this merger?
Well, first of all, AC and I have known each other since 2010, so it's not just something that's been organised over the last few weeks. We actually used to play on the PlayStation 3, of all things, in F1 2010. I used to get up at 4 o'clock on a Monday morning and run in Alex's leagues, the Apex Racing League. So since then, we've always been in contact. Apex Racing are a quality outfit, always have been, very competitive, and they've got such a good reputation as well. I've probably followed them a lot closer than probably most other Australians, because I've known AC for such a long time. So always seeing their results, in the F1 World Championship, over the last few years, it was pretty much Coanda everywhere. And if it wasn't Coanda, that's because it was Apex. So they really took it up to a great team like Coanda and were extremely competitive throughout. Look, when it changed over to the Porsches, the World Championship, the Porsches, it was a significant thing for us as ERT. Obviously, we had Jared on board, and Jared was going to be flying solo in the Porsche, which is hard work. Like, we all know what it's like to be flying solo, especially when you've got so many other teams around. The chat that we had with Apex, it's not something that just happened in the last few weeks. It was chat probably, what do you reckon, AC, about June, July last year? I think we first started talking about it.
I was going to say 12 months ago. I think we sort of briefly mentioned it to one another. So timings weren't right then,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we revisited again, sort of start of the year.
So you're saying that this is something that you guys have thought about for a lot longer than this, and
absolutely.
So what was the catalyst? Why? I mean, Brenton, to put it bluntly, is it because of Jared specifically with the Porsche move and everything?
No.
Drivers for him, or what's
No. That was a bit of a topping on the cake, shall we say, or icing on the cake. Sorry, topping on the cake, icing on the cake. That would help Jared, but we didn't do it because of Jared. So no one should think that. But we've got wholly and solely. If you were just ERT, we had 2 cars trying to qualify for the Pro Championship. We were successful in getting one. Alex's team, the Apex Racing team, already had a team pre-qualified for the GT World Championship. So straight away, we've got quite a bit of background in GT racing, and Apex. Look, they won't ever say that the GT racing's on top of their pile. They've always been extremely strong in F1. That will change, obviously, now with F1 being in the background. They've got Porsches come in. But, we've also now got our original ERT team, which in the Pro Series will be running as an Apex team. So we'll have young Cooper Webster, 15 Kessie, Cooper Webster, Benny Smith, so both Aussies, and Lawrence de Rijk from Germany racing it. So they've earned their way to qualify. And also with Apex's team that's already pre-qualified, and Alex will be able to tell you about another pro team that's been acquired as well. So we're now going to have 3 GTE pro teams running. So why not get more help? The systems that Apex run in regards to setups, etc., is second to none. But by saying that, and I'm going to cut myself off a little bit here, is that, look, it was great to get Jared. Getting Jared, let's face it, he is the best V8 driver in Australia. And it's great to see Ethan and on occasion others taken up to him because he needs that challenge. But over the last 2 weeks, we've got Dean Thrower as well, who's come on board. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know much about Dean beforehand. So when TTR went through their changes, and I know what it's like because ERT did the same thing last year when a few of the guys went off and joined Altus, etc. You could either sit around and feel sorry for yourself, or you can say, well, these things have happened, let's get on with it. So, I stayed pretty active to try and get our name back up there. And it's not easy. There's a lot of emails and stuff get sent. But getting Jared was awesome. Getting Jordan Ross was fantastic. But getting Dean, and I didn't know much about him, but what he brings to the table in regards to the setups and things like that, we're not just, and Alex will agree with me here, we're not just going to use him for the V8s. This guy who doesn't drive, or he does a bit of dirt, he's not going to be any busier in his life than over the next 6 months with setups and things like that, because he produces some real quality work. And the Apex guys have just taken him on. We already run the same Discord channel over at Apex now, except for Scops events because of a bit of lag. But it's amazing how, not just AC and I who have got along so well, it's the Jamie Flukes, the Pete Berrymans, the Ethan Grigolts, the Jared Filsels. As we saw at Sebring, that was our debut race, as a merged team, and we won the whole thing. And that was a combine deal on the same day that it was all released. So it was a perfect start, and I've probably rattled on too much. AC is here, but, when it comes to the World Championship,
Brenton, congratulations for you both on that first race at Sebring. You had some outstanding results, but it's I think that most of the people watching would have expected something. So, but to see it come together so instantaneously, I guess, was something that is to be remarked upon. But you mentioned names such as Peter Berryman, Jamie Fluke, Alex. These drivers are obviously synonymous with the F1 World Championship series that is no longer, and now we're moving into the Porsche. I guess one of my questions for you is the comments about the change, which is a fantastic change. Everything about it is positive, obviously, to the Porsche. But let's just say, for example, for the V8 supercars over here, the real world, we've had some drivers like you might get your Mika Salo or your Jacques Villeneuve that came from an open wheel racing series. They jump in the car at the Gold Coast endurance round and they just are going nowhere because the change. Yes, the change. You cannot just chuck a driver that's so used to going 330 kilometers an hour with an open wheel car into, say, a tin top. That's the comments that I've been hearing. What's your comment on that, and your drivers that hold such prestige in the world of iRacing and sim racing? How are you guys coping, and is this merger with ERT going to help bridge that gap because of the strong tin top lineup that ERT bring as well?
Yeah, it certainly will. I mean, I think, yes, I'm super happy and super stoked with the Porsche announcement. It was great. Obviously, we are, as a team, were open wheel. That is what we were about. That was what we tried to excel on. So the F1 World Championship right up our street. We did the Formula Renault 2.5 when the 3.5 come out. We're like, yes, maybe this is going to be what the World Championship car. And then out of left field, we got this Porsche announcement. We're like, what the heck? So that was a bit of a surprise to us. I have to say, obviously, as far as sort of the drivers that we've got that are in the World Championship, they are very, very talented. Jamie and Antoine both qualified for the Porshce event in Germany. So of the, I think, what was there, 20 drivers that went from iRacing, and both those guys got in. To be fair, Kevin and Peter didn't even attempt to do it. They were too busy doing some other things at the time. But yeah, so those guys, they all of the drivers put in thousands of laps. So I think we saw it, didn't we? How many laps they were doing. So, but yeah, so they were in. They are pretty adapted to the car. I mean, I don't know how Antoine does it. He just has this uncanny ability to jump into any car, and in 5 laps he's wringing the neck out of it and just getting these lap times. And I'm just because obviously I do race with him in the GT side, and obviously I did in the F1. I'm like, how the bloody hell are you guys doing these lap times so quick? And there I am for the whole week, pounding away, checking the data and everything else, like trying to match it, and they're there. So Jamie's the same, Peter as well. He just has like a natural ability to it. So I feel like those guys are going to be very, very, very quick. Kevin, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, he knows that he's going to have to sort of work hard at it, but he's already getting pretty close to their guys' time. So as a unit, they are going to be very strong. Whether we're going to be the same level as where we were last year in terms of matching your De Jongs and your Cronkies and giving them an absolute run for their money in that series, only time will tell. It's the same principle for them. Of course, they're changing over from an open wheel to a tin top car as well. So I think what the merge really brings with us is that knowledge of the tin tops. We obviously have got some great expertise in sort of setup build and things like that on our side. We're merging the knowledge with what Brenton and all of his crew have got over there, and I feel like we're going to have something really, really strong in the Porshce to sort of take it to your G2s and your Coanders and everybody else. Red Bull esports that are rocking up as well now.
Yeah. So I suppose that would be the goal, really, to share information. I mean, Brenton, I know that you mentioned a lot of what you guys can get from the Apex sort of partnership, and it goes same goes for you with Alex and Jared jumping in. We know that he can give it a big lob in the V8, and he's not half bad in that Porshce too. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what sort of information the guys can share and what sort of results we can get for the Aussies and obviously the wider iRacing community. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys can do, to be honest. So
because Jared does the data packs for VRS Porshce, doesn't he? So that's he's not exactly a stranger to the car himself.
No.
And he did definitely. I mean, he wasn't the star. Obviously, I think that someone like Rasmussen in that the qualifier series was obviously the one that
Freddie's going to be the man to beat, I think. So
yeah,
that's who we're looking at and sort of going, right, that's got to be the benchmark, is to give him a run for money. Of course, we haven't seen the Coanda lads yet, so that was they are. They always have been. I mean, it was a bit of a kick in the teeth that the current pro drivers weren't allowed to race at all in the official series. Like, it was like, how are we meant to benchmark ourselves? We did sort of toss around an idea of creating a league, just sort of privately, just to sort of, see what was going on. But I think just organising something like that and trying to get the times together, get all the teams together, it's like near enough impossible. And like you say, that half of them are too secretive. They're like, get on your bike, we're not coming in. So,
but the biggest difference between the Porshce and the F1s is just the amount of setup changes that you can make with the F1. It's ridiculous. So, Apex nailed down their set. I'm absolutely sure of that, and Coanda would have nailed down their set, G2 and all that. But the Porshce, and you probably agree with me, AC, is whilst you can make setup changes to the Porshce, I think more of it is driver related as well. Like this, because of the limited changes that you can make with the Porshce. So, I'm putting the Aussie flag up. And I know you guys won't, but Josh Rogers will be right up there as well for Coanda. So, it'd be great to see Jared, Josh, and obviously all the Apex/ERT guys up there. But it's just going to be such a good, strong, competitive series. I hope iRacing get it right. I still haven't had dates of when it's going to be released yet. Some of us might be thinking the same thing at the moment. Hopefully we're not. But it's an important series for that iRacing have to get right, and it's important for teams like ours for promotion and service. We've got good sponsors on board. Never sell yourself short. Don't just stop once you've got one sponsor. Why not then try and chase more or expand on it? And then that's what we're looking at as well.
Do you
Brenton-
think that this was the change from the Formula One to the Porsche was an advantage for you guys, or a disadvantage? Did it advantage you or disadvantage you through the main series changing?
I think only time is going to tell. I'll be honest. I mean, I genuinely think we should have won a race last year. We definitely had a couple of opportunities and a couple of drop balls and things like that. We definitely would have won one this year. I know it. What's going to happen like I said, it's so up in the air. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Like I say, I mean, we only really have the Pro Series to look at. We know who's quick in that series. We've got no clue. We might have a team come from left field because someone absolutely loves this car and is just at one. And like he's like sits there in around 15th place. He might be right at the front, pinging it on pole. We just don't know. It's so open at the minute.
Hey Nori, did you secretly qualify for that Porsche series? You need to come up with
It's a dark
something.
horse.
So yeah.
Hasn't
No.
been touched in about 3 months. but like that is one thing about this series is it's iRacing's biggest draw card now. They've dropped the F1, so you need the caliber of drivers not only to step up, but you need to know those other teams out there that are versing you. They're going to have a decent caliber of driver, and you've got to have faith in your crews. Obviously, your combined crew that you've put together is going to be, it's got to have to be pushing up towards the front.
I'm going to throw in my personal opinion. I love the fact that they went to the Porsche. I think the racing is more fun to watch personally than the open wheelers. I know, Jaycie, you're a open wheeler diehard, but I think for the sake of the competitiveness of the series, the competitive of the series, I'm so looking forward to seeing everyone give it a lob, as Jared would say, in this year. So,
and especially with the Australian contingency, or the Oceania contingency, that Brenton, you've been one to push your team into the international scene with drivers like Riley, into the World Championship Grand Prix series. Josh Rogers kind of, I don't know how to say it. He kind of just showed up and just started being fast last year. Just did it. That was great.
I would think that Josh did a lot of laps practicing. The thing that burnt Riley, and I'll probably cut you off here, is that
that's okay.
The difference between the open wheelers and the Porsche, I think, becomes an advantage to those not in Europe or the States, because the ping rate when you've got two open wheelers together, one generally goes flying through the air into the crowd. You know what I mean? Whereas the Porsches can, same with the V8s guys, as we know, you can have a bit of bumping, you know what I mean? You can give and take a bit. Look, there's going to be some times where the Aussies, Jared and Josh, might be on the wrong end of a netcode issue, or, they might hand out a netcode issue to someone else, but it's not going to be like the F1. So, that ultimately just continually burnt Riley. Preston, we're talking here. Yeah.
We knew to never go to the outside of Riley at the start of the race. It was, if you wanted to end your race on lap 1, it was try and overtake Riley around the outside. And not anything because of what Riley was doing, it's just because the pings with the F1s, the speeds they're doing, like as good as iRacing is and allows us to, race all over the world, there is still a ping difference there, and the F1s are doing some serious speed. And it's just the smallest touch with that car, and you just get sent flying, and it's game over. So
it's like Baku last year in the F1 with Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. They obviously had some really bad ping issues. He
hit me!
While being 6 meters away from him. But like I was saying,
no.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, was that him or Todd Kelly? Can't tell. Can you do a Todd Kelly impersonation?
I can.
I don't know.
Probably not fit for a family-oriented podcast.
Might get banned though if we do that.
But taking some of these drivers that we're so used to in the Scops environment, like your Ethan Grigoltz, your Jared Filzel, it's hard to say whether the World Championship Grand Prix Series is a bigger event or it just seems that we're in such a bubble, like a pocket of our own in Australia with Scops, and those that recognise it, or those that wander off and just stumble onto a broadcast of Scops on SimSpeed or whatever you have. I mean, I've seen Jamie Flute come into some of the chats watching the Scops rounds, and just the amount of respect that people seem to have on the outset for the Scop series and drivers. I think it's a fantastic thing that there's an avenue for some of our guys, Brenton, to shine in the Porshce series, and especially drivers like Ethan Grigault and Jared Filsol specifically. They are it would be cruel to think that they would be confined to this part of the world forever.
Yep.
And now they do get a chance to go off and with Alex and Apex and be part of a more of an international kind of community. So that's really fantastic.
No, it is. And you get guys like Ethan who, like Jared's out there now, so he's got his black stripe, he's got his pro license, and they've already started working on the Porshce. So yeah, they're chipping away. There might be some changes brought in, but they're still doing laps now. But then you've got a guy like Ethan who is just so damn competitive and so relaxed about it up until the event. When the actual events are on, sometimes he throws the toys out the cot a little bit. But, yeah, for example, at Sebring, like Ethan was partnering with AC in the Sebring and the C7 there. And as good as the team went, having a win at Sebring was magnificent. Alex, who did limited laps in practice because there's heavy commitments elsewhere. And so Ethan was pretty much, I would think you would agree, AC, Ethan was probably the lead driver of that car.
I would agree with that.
People don't acknowledge that Ethan's got the fastest lap of that race out of all the teams by 0.4 of a second. The guy is a serious steerer, and he can steer anything at any time. Like because he's like us, loves the V8s, and like we love the Scop series, and we won't say a bad thing about it because we're passionate about it. We wouldn't put so much
quite
time
well there too.
Well, we do.
Congratulations on your standing, by the way.
Right,
you guys are just dominating.
I did see that Jay released the top 8 of the standings today, the points, and didn't happen to mention the 9th team, Riley Blythe and someone else, his teammate, even though they've never made a top split race. But so Scops is always important to us, and it always will be, and we'll still be running under the ERT banner at Scops, 100%. That's part of the agreement with Apex and ourselves. But the resources that we use with Apex, yeah, they absolutely help us, no doubt at all. And then there's some Scops Enduros later in the year where, we'd love to have some of the pro Porshce guys, jump in. Haven't talked about this with AC yet. He's probably got a surprised look on his face at the moment. But we'd love to have some of those guys come on board for those events as well. So, yeah, look, ERT's always locally Australian in regards to the V8s, but we've always been a team that's pushed the global international events, and we probably pushed it harder than any other Australian team for a long while. With the old Blancpain series where we had cars into that. We had a strong presence in the F1 qualifying, got cars in the F1 Pro Series, and this just makes sense now to keep moving forward and keep shining the Australian talent that we've got here. Ethan is a seriously good steerer in the Porshce as well. The best thing that happened to Ethan last year was winning the Aussie Driver Search, but the worst thing that happened to him was winning the Aussie Driver Search because, it can't be everywhere at the same time. So he virtually had to make a choice, which, let's face it, was a pretty easy one to make. But, it stopped him. As soon as the ADS came out, it was like, okay, well, I can't do everything. So the Porshce got dropped. He had 2 races, I think, for the GTE Pro Championship. But, as much as we talk about the ping and that type of thing, and that's hard for the Aussies, the hardest thing by far for the Aussies, and I was only talking to AC off camera before about this, it's the time of the race starts. Like for the GT, so 2 weeks' time, first round GTE starts. The race starts at 1 o'clock in the morning. Goes for 6 hours, I think round 1 is. So it messes up your whole weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what do you do on the Saturday, unless you're Cassie?
Sleep.
Exactly.
I was going to say,
sleeping till 2 in the afternoon.
Unless you're Cassie playing marbles, you know what I mean?
Brenton, you got to come and have a game too. Alex, you're welcome to.
Alex,
Marbles on Twitch. Wow, how good
I'm not real big into playing with little balls just quietly, but but anyway, thank you.
That was
but sorry, Cassie. He has gone red without lipstick on.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Excuse me. No, so like it's all Sunday is just wrecked for the guys. You know what I mean? Because what are they doing? They're trying to catch up on sleep from the day before and the day after. That's probably the biggest hurdle. But again, for the special events like Sebring, Le Mans, Nürburgring 24, we can now spread that time zone out to be advantageous for everybody.
It worked
same note,
perfectly at Sebring. Sorry, yeah, that worked perfectly at Sebring. Obviously, Ethan jumped in the car. He did his stint. He was able to get out, get to some kip relatively early. I jumped in, and then Zach, and then he sort of finished it off back at a reasonable time. So I think like the 24 hours, like we're gonna have a real hard crack at like Le Mans 24 hours this year as well. So and all these extra special events, because actually that's kind of put Apex off on that, because again we were pretty just UK, and like everyone's like, nah, they need their beauty sleep, So.
And
I'm not ninja. I don't mean to be ninja, but I'm pretty sure lots of this stuff will get the job done. I think the Aussies need to stop crying about the times. I think it's all good.
Chris, have we got a new sponsorship you haven't told me about? Because I haven't seen anything from it. What are you doing holding out?
Sorry.
One of the things with some of the iRacing.
Hey, Mark.
Some of the iRacing special events, you've got those horrible time zones, and if you've just focused on a local team, you are just struggling to find someone who's willing to give up a part of their weekend to do that part of the race. And sometimes you've spent a week building your setup and everything, and it falls apart on lap 4. So, not wanting any fingers there, Jaycie. but it's beneficial to have someone on the other side of the country, on the other side of the world, who can come into that time zone and be better rested, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think just to sort of add to sort of some of the points that Brenton was making earlier, the whole idea of the merge, there's still basically a behind the scenes sort of project that we're working towards. Everything's sort of in place, and we're just small steps until we get there. But one of the things is to have, so obviously Europe, America, so that might include some NASCAR drivers in the future, and some sort of American road racers as well, and obviously over in Australia. So we've got drivers that excel in all of their disciplines all across the world, so we can really smash these sort of big endurance events out and things like that. It's something that we're very focused on trying to really take it to like your PRTs and things like that. We don't want to see a whitewash like last year, and we're glad that won't happen already this year.
It's interesting you say that, Alex, because the new news, exciting secrets, I guess you could call it, news coming in the future. Brenton's always, whenever we talk to Brenton, it's always left on a note of, but there's more coming, guys. I'm not going to tell you now, but stay tuned. There's always something. And this Apex thing was one of those things, wasn't it? But Alex, I have a question, though, about the working in with ERT and what that means, and how you guys will have a chance to get some experience from the more experienced tin top drivers, and then you guys are swapping. It's beneficial both ways. I'm wondering if you have any drivers that are interested in the V8 supercar and maybe even driving in Scops.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've never asked them. And you brought the point up earlier on about how is like Scops looked at sort of outside of Australia, and we don't watch it. We were very, very focused on sort of the European series. Sorry, some shocked looks, but
sorry, why are you?
I put a sad face up in the
emojis. But that doesn't mean to say that actually, do you know what I mean? There's, we're starting to really understand the love for that series now. The merge has come on. And I genuinely feel like there may well be some interest from drivers. But certainly from an Apex point of view, like I've actually started to tune into the broadcast. I want to see how the guys are going. So the merge is beneficial on the series point as well, because all of a sudden there's a bit of a European interest coming in. The more eyes are on it, the more like perhaps if some of like our guys start to spot and things like that during some of the races, we might get a few drivers go, do you know what? Let's have a blast. Let's see what we can do. I think if there's one driver that would, and I don't want to speak for him, but if there's one driver that would sort of be up for the challenge, that would like to perhaps get it in there, the one that I mentioned earlier that can just seem to wring the neck out of any car in about 3 laps flat, would be Antoine. I reckon he would be a good shout at perhaps having a little blast. Now he's super busy with studies right now, but when that finishes, he might be up for a late night race. I'm not, not trying to push him or anything, but he'd be a good shout, I reckon, to see what he'd be like in there.
I think he'd have some pretty decent advice coming from Ethan Grigalt and Jared Filsell on the team. You haven't got anyone better to learn a new car. So
yeah, Antoine's probably the name I was thinking of, him and Jamie, because I have seen Jamie on board watching a few broadcasts, and especially since the merger, and we're now in the same Discord. The link for the broadcast straight on the Discord chat. So it's almost shoving it down the boys' throats at the moment. But it's promotion. You know what I mean? And well, it is a good thing. But see, ERT tested the water earlier anyway with getting some guys from Europe involved with Johnny Brandon and Nicole Foggy. They couldn't make the last round. They had commitments elsewhere. So we kind of tested the water with them a little bit, and they're still on board with us now, and we have a chat with them. I'm not sure whether they can commit to the next round either, but yeah, it was seeing how things would evolve. This was always going to happen. The Apex thing was going to happen eventually, but yeah, having those two guys on board as well. And we're talking about sharing time and for the Enduro. See, Johnny and Nicole actually both drove with ERT at the Daytona 24. So yeah, it came fourth outright, which is an outstanding performance. So we tested the water there, and now that we're with Apex, it's just so much. Hey, AC's dad. Now that it's so much, now that we've got so many more to choose from, or it's probably a bad way of looking at it, but there's greater depth. That's probably the best way of looking at it. There's so much depth now that Apex are able to offer, and certainly ERT can offer as well. But yeah, look, I'm going to be pushing for a couple of the Apex boys to run in some Enduros later on the year, and I think we'll get there. I'm pretty sure we'll get there.
You've effectively got the Triple Eight set up where the internationals who are really quick come into your cars that are really quick and win the series, or in the Enduro Cup.
They won't this year, Matt. Sorry, Nori. Maybe ERT will, but not Triple Eight. Sorry.
ERT. We're not talking about Triple.
No, look, it's good to have quality people come on board. Like, let's not pretend ERT. We took a hit last year with a few of the guys leaving, absolutely, but we did something about it straight away. And you look at TTR at the moment. I'm not going to sit here and go, gee, it's good for ERT this is happening, because it's not. We don't want that to happen, and I wish TTR all the best and Madison all the best. And the unfortunate thing for Madison and TTR is that it's happened just before Scops has started. And other teams have started as well, like Go Rogue Motorsport, Altus have started, things like that. So a lot of drivers that would potentially be on the market, shall we say, have already gone to other teams. And TTR are still very strong. Goodness sakes, Madison won the first race at Interlagos. So let's not feel too sorry for him. But but they'll always have a strong team. But it's just a really hard time. They're probably not where they want to be, but it's hard to get good drivers these days. You know what I mean? So they'll still come and go, but we're lucky enough.
There's enough good drivers in the pool now, I think, and TTR will do exactly what you guys did at ERT, and I can imagine Madison's a pretty determined guy.
Absolutely.
I can't see him. I can see them getting back up the top. As you said though, it happened at the wrong time, and they'll have to work forward from here. I mean, they've got a pretty good driver in Madison to lead
exactly
the way.
Right.
So,
and Mad's all quality in all class, isn't he? You know what I mean? So let's not pretend otherwise. But but he's got some work to do to get TTR where it used to be. They took a hit. ERT have taken a hit. TTR have taken a hit just with Josh leaving. Apparently he's not too slow. So but things like that. So all these teams are taking a hit. Altus is a new team. As I said, Go Rogue, who are just so undersold. It's crazy. That Team Hyperdrive, I think I heard something about them a while ago.
No, I wouldn't. Don't worry about them.
Shabby drivers. No, I never said I was worried about them, but
even the second development series, by any chance.
But for someone like me, who's trying to hang in just to try and stay in split 2 of Scops, every new driver, every new team that comes in just sends the car 26 just down a little bit more, you know what I mean, before we're trying to just crawl onto position 80. So
that's why there was 162 registered for Montreal, and I was probably 161.
Good job, dude.
Probably why that was it.
That means you beat one more person than last year, Norrie.
Exactly.
I just packed up my sim rig. All the wheels you can see in the background, they're just relics now. They're part of the environment rather than being used. But
Not
when
I noticed. That's why you've packed it up. I can understand that.
Oh, yep. You're going to send it back to you. Thanks. Thanks for the but when I was driving, mate, I remember that no matter what series it was, OSR or AOSC, every time I qualified, I'd be sitting next to this bloody 26 numbered ERT car all the time.
And then you would drive off into the distance.
You were probably doing business deals. I understand. That's fine.
Yeah.
But mate, just one question I have that's been something I really wanted to find out, because you guys have maintained the same livery, Brenton, from last year with a few kind of minor changes, I guess. But what's going on there? Are you guys bringing something new to the table? Is there going to be a generic Apex/ERT livery?
Do you know what? We're working on liveries. We have already gone through 2 redesigns, and we just can't get something that we're happy with. So yeah, we're bouncing. Yeah. So I think the biggest trouble we had with obviously a team that's got a lot of drivers is trying to get something that's unique for each driver. And we're trying to get, sort of little driver highlights and things like that. We just can't get something that we're too happy about. There is going to be an announcement on the Apex page today, just announcing the Porshce, the GTE, and the Rallycross lineups, because we have brand new lineups for all of those this year, with a livery that will be changed. So hence why the Scops livery is still the same until we get something that we're happy with, and both sides agree. This is the way we want to move it forward. They're kind of staying as they are at the moment, I think. So obviously for Sebring, it was the old Apex logo livery, which we just threw the yellow onto it and things like that, and added all the like the Logi and the Speed Calf onto it. And then I think I'm pretty sure until we're 100% happy, you guys won't see too much beyond that. But we're a bunch of guys that are particular, I would say, on what we want to put out there, and we're all just trying to find something that works for us all at the minute.
Well, Norrie's a budding livery designer. I reckon he wants.
I was about to say, any painters out there, just give us a shout right now. We need some design concept ideas. Send them to us. So we might have to do out like what I think Redline did a few years back, where they just put the Facebook post out and said, look, send us in your designs. The best one we'll run for next year. It's not a bad shout, actually, Brenton. I just thought about that. So there you go, live board for meeting. So
you could run a competition on it. Design our livery.
Yeah, exactly.
We kind of like
we should probably do that hyperdrive.
AC and I, we've been working to a schedule as to where we want to be at particular times with the release of the team and all that. And the biggest setback has been the skins. There's no doubt about that at all. Like, because it's all well and good to say that Apex and ERT are joining, hooray, happy days, but it means more when you've got a video and you've got photos. You know what I mean? It just looks so much better. And look, AC and I will both say the same thing. That's the one thing that we've definitely been short on. There's no doubt. Like everything else, organisational wise, with the interaction and the combination that we've got going, running as smooth as. So we're on schedule there. But yeah, the liveries have let us down a little bit. And to be honest with you, we'll probably wear a bit of the hit there, because we were probably, and AC you might agree, we were probably too restricted to the guy who was making the paint, because AC wanted to keep a lot of Apex stuff. We were going to keep a bit of ERT stuff, but to be honest with you, I've come on board. I don't care if ERT changes its image completely, to be honest with you, in regards to skins and stuff like that. And
Alex has just noted that. I can see him writing it down on Facebook.
Yeah, no, writing it down.
In fairness, I'm probably the one that's most intent in trying to keep the brandings of both teams very much there and in the forefront. And that was another reason that what sort of ERT brings to us as well. They're so much better than Apex on social media, on branding, getting out there. Like, I mean, we're not to sort of big us up, we're a European team in the World Championships. We've got 500 less Facebook followers than that, Why should that be? They're so much better at doing that sort of stuff than that. So I didn't want to lose any of that. So I definitely want to keep that ERT brand. There's no point in just shutting that page down or anything like that and merging it with. That's why we have this kind of like Apex is going to be sort of like the only represented when we hit an esport competition or a World Championship event. Everything else, our drivers are going to run under the ERT branding. That's kind of how it's going to work. 'Cause there was some questions asked about that, and that is definitely why I want to keep that in place as well, because they're so good at what they do. We're going to cross-share everything that our teams are doing and that. So, but yeah, so actually, I'm probably not going to push too much that Brenton loses all of the ERT stuff, because like I say, I'm the one that wants to keep that in place because they do such a good job with it right now.
Well, don't worry too much about all the Facebook likes that ERT has, because obviously that came from Bo Albert when he paid for all.
We had like 500 Russians join in a day or something. I don't know what Bo's doing there.
Indonesia, Russian, India.
Yeah, mind you, those 500 left the day after.
Yay! Oh.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. I think we might wrap it up here, and unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on, I feel like.
Have you got any other secrets, Brenton? Mate?
Yes,
we know that
can you
you're
just let us know now?
Well, look, I hope you guys appreciate how, like, for example, when I released the news about Jared, it was kind of a tester to see how many people actually read that post. Jaycie didn't, because you didn't, because I know you did, because all of it was about Jordan in the last line. Oh, and by the way, Jared's joined as well. So it's like, oh yeah, good get with Jordan, and then someone's gone, oh, what? You got Jared as well? You know what I mean?
Just add that little nugget in there at the end.
Yeah. Look, so
I wanted to know why that was undersold so much.
because it generated conversation.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it would, and at the same time, like we've known that Jordan wanted to come over for a while, and Jordan's a quality driver, and I don't want to undersell the fact that Jordan's a quality driver. So if I just said, oh look, Jordan's joined us on Saturday, and on Sunday, Jared's joined us. Well, the chat on Monday, sorry Jordan, love you like your brother, you know that, but the chat's going to be on Monday, Jared's joined ERT. So it's generated conversation. So for the next 24, 48 hours, people were talking about ERT, but also talking about Jordan Jared as an equal, which is how it should be. And I actually think it was really successful. I got absolutely smashed with PMs that night. I got called a few names, and not everyone believed it. It wasn't quite April 1st and all that stuff. But, like, Jared, mate, I'll be honest with you, and Jared, I know you'll hear this later on, I was slightly pensive about getting Jared on board. Good driver, great driver, but I didn't, and Jared and I have spoken for a while on Facebook. We never really had much to do talking-wise. He would be, and ERT's had a lot of drivers come and go, he would be the most influential, what's the word I'm looking for here, team player that we've had join in short time. Like the other guys, like I'll even use Ethan, for example, like when he joined 2 years ago. He took a while to blend in type thing, to get used to how we do things at ERT from his old team. But Jared, straight away, he's jumped in the deep end. And I thought for a while there, he might, with his old setups and things like that, he might be a bit protective, hold his cards close to his chest. It's actually dead the opposite. So Riley Blythe, for example, at Montreal was struggling a little bit. And Jared, who, as we know, is a VRS coach, and VRS do an excellent job, there's a free plug for you. But Jared straight away is, I'll help you out. And it's the same with the Apex guys. The Apex guys, and again, I know Jared's listening to this, but there's no expectation on Jared being the quickest Porsche driver out of the 5 of them in the series. As a matter of fact, AC, you probably know more. I'd probably rank Jared 3 or 4 out of it, but he will only get better. And that's the same with the V8s. Our V8 guys are only getting better now that Jared's on board, because he is such a team player. It's been amazing how much of a team player he's been. And on Discord most nights, just talking, don't even have to be talking iRacing, just talking anything. It's been a real surprise to me, and a great surprise, and it's really, really worked out well.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because the whole point of our podcast from the start, and the guys at SimSpeed, obviously VRS, and everyone else out there that's ever dealt with us, our whole mission statement is to bring some human element to sim racing. We're still very new and quite early in the process, but that's our entire goal. As long as this lasts for as many years as this goes for, it's to try and bring a more human element. I feel like the guys over in NASCAR do that pretty well with their series. The GT World Championship series and even the F1 that was the broadcast, the voices you hear, Jake Sperry, for example, the characterization and then the personality that comes out with the people that you hear on the broadcast. There's a lot of hearing going on, but we're watching cars that are video games essentially. Sorry for everyone out there, but it's a video, a simulated version of something that we can watch in real life. But if you watch a broadcast of, say, Formula One today, whenever you see a driver's information come up, there's a picture of the driver, and we don't have that enough, in my opinion, in sim racing. They try to do it in other series and other avenues, but because iRacing is just the pinnacle of the actual racing part of it in the competition, that's what's needed, we think, at the podcast. And you guys 100% are bringing something like that.
I 100% agree with that, and the proof of that is that so Jared's gone from TTR to ERT. So my question to everybody would be, do people follow the driver or do they follow the team? Now, let's use Danny Rick as an example. I was at the Grand Prix yesterday in Melbourne.
Yep.
Now, I was there last year as well. So last year, everyone's, wearing Kessie's drink shirt, you know what I mean? Like, they've got the Red Bull on. But yesterday, there were Danny Rick hats and shirts everywhere because they are following the driver to where they go. Now, with Jared from TTR to ERT, are people following the team, which I think they are. I think TTR will have their supporter base and ERT will have their supporter base. But how many people have gone over from a TTR supporter to an ERT supporter, wholly based on Jared, and or SSR supporter with Jordan coming from SSR to ERT? And that's why I think what you guys are doing with the personal touch is important, because people relate to teams, and it's almost the stage where if you don't like one team, it means you hate them. You know what I mean? Like, I know ERT got plenty of flack. I'm not going to change my sleeping pattern, but it would be good if the people started following the driver as well, and that's what you guys are trying to do a really good job at, is to make it more personal. Well,
what we're doing is
with their lives.
We're preempting, and this not to talk about us. It's definitely not my intention. The preempting of what's to come for sim racing. If you look at Porshce and the $100,000 prize pool that they put in, obviously someone there is going. Someone at the Porshce, dinner table or whatever is saying, "Hey, this is an avenue that seems like it's something we should put some backing behind," and that's happening. And we're looking at a potential future where sim racing could become something like the real world racing, as far as maybe broadening the horizon of the viewership to an audience that actually is a spectator more so than a participant, because sim racing seems to be viewed by other sim racers. It's a different type of environment than, they say, real world racing, where you get fans. I think the fans of sim racing teams, they've got their own team as well. So you become a fan of drivers and watching what the capabilities of some drivers are and the way that teams are managed. Like, I definitely am a fan of the way that the teams are managed and drivers go about their racing. But to get the viewership and actually people becoming spectators of the sport, I think that's coming, and that's where all this groundwork that we're all talking about and having these discussions is really important. And it may be something that, who knows, maybe people will look back on this kind of stuff, and it might be even more interesting once this thing really, really takes off and blows up. But speaking about Jared, Brenton, just to know his personality, we talk to Jared for sure, and we feel like we know what he's like. We definitely and have a good relationship with Jared, but who knows how he's viewed, because all he does is go out there and win V8 Scops races. Really, that's his persona. He's a winner, and to know that he's actually working with the team really well, I think that's what we all need to know. I mean, you just mentioned Jordan Ross. I know how good he is from the results and seeing what he can do on track, but I have no idea who Jordan is. He could be a 45-year-old professional, or he could be a 16-year-old kid still in high school. I have no idea. I'd like to find out about all the drivers.
So at 45, he'd be a young fella compared to me. But you're exactly right. So, like we've got Cooper Webster in our team's our youngest, so he's just turned 15 late last year. and then you've got someone like me who's turning 49 next week. Don't send me flowers again, Cassie. It's getting a bit disturbing, dude.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but so there is a large age group difference there. But I've met Cooper in real life and met his family, quality family. But we still get along. I'm still not great at memes and photoshopping and blah blah blah. I steer clear of all that stuff. But those guys do that and they have fun with it and all that stuff. So there is a large age difference there. But the one thing that gets us all together is that we all have the ability to hold a steering wheel and push some pedals with our feet. Some are way better than the others, obviously, but it still gets us together doing it, and we can still talk on Discord or doing things like we're doing now. We've got some guys 35,000 kilometres away over in the UK, and we can talk to him like he's next door. That's the best thing that we've got on offer, and we just got to use it better. And you guys are doing that, so it's outstanding.
I think that's the thing. It's turning it into a larger social media platform, because I don't know this guy who's lining up next to me, but I can get to know him through this platform, and hell, we can become best of mates. It's just a broad horizon that you've got in front of you.
Yeah, it's something we've spoke about as well, even like on the World Championship a couple of years ago. Just bringing in the personalities is something that's always been missing. Much more interviews, so, even if it's like this, like a Skype interview after a race, let's get some video of the drivers in there, get some jokes. Everyone's got their own little personalities, and I think that's the thing. You can't follow the drivers quite now, because as you said with Jared, some people just see him as just winning. You've got no idea who the guy is behind the scenes or anything like that. So some people, I think the biggest thing is putting faces to names and things like that, and just getting a broad idea of what they're like and stuff like that. Have they got jokes, or are they just deadly serious all the time? You get an idea of who you want to follow. So. Yeah, this is great. We need to do more and more of this, and I think iRacing need to get onto this with the big official series as well and stuff like that, and definitely try and get the drivers far more involved. So we'll have a look, see what they do this year in terms of like the GT and the Porshce and things like that. Obviously, NASCAR have asked them to step it up a little bit, so they're doing that, but perhaps still not enough video for my liking. Get some more in there.
But it also, by having the drivers' faces on the stream, it takes away this typical stereotype of what a gamer looks like. You know what I mean? And it introduces.
Hang on, Norrie.
Norrie looks like a gamer.
Not the greatest example you use there. You've just shot my argument down. But it makes it more personal. That hang on, sorry, Norrie. There's other humans out there that are actually driving. You know what I mean? The wife and kids are at home screaming in the background, but they still are a person that are doing driving when they can. So that's why it's important to do what you guys are doing and make it humanized.
Well, you mentioned you just bought that webcam just to come on the show today, Brenton. I hope you've still got the receipt, mate, because
no,
it's working for you.
No,
you have to take it back.
I didn't buy it. No, this is a sponsor gift from Logitech, which was actually on its way.
Right.
It's Ariane de Vries, this was for you. It was packed, ready to go to the Netherlands. It's off to Amsterdam. Because this was part. He's an ERT driver.
Just quality control.
Yeah, just doing a test for Ariane. It's working well. I'll put it all back in the box. It'll almost look like it did when it came out. Not quite.
Can I just say, guys, before we wrap up, I do want to say to you, Alex and Brenton, congratulations. You guys have just joined two already awesome teams and made an absolute powerhouse. And in multiple series, we're going to be seeing your cars up the front of the field, and it's going to be really exciting stuff to see what you guys can do as a partnership. That's just wanted to put that out.
I'm really looking forward to this year, I have to say. So, I feel like we were already strong in the Porshce. Where we're going to be in the GT, is going to be pretty epic as well. Like I say, we've got another new car in there, so 3 cars lining up for that. I'll wait for the announcement on the social media for that. Rallycross is looking ridiculous. Like, we had no one in Rallycross, so so John Robertson, a new guy that's going to qualify, and then we've got Stellan Chepolewski and Johan Haaf as well. So that's going to be a serious team come there, and the practice that those guys are putting in right now, and they're months away from the start of that competition, it's scary. I don't know how they're doing it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then on the other side, so the special events, I just think the motivation after Sebring, the way the guys work together, the little tweaks here and there that they were all making, getting the win, as like Pete won't mind me saying this, I'm sure. Like, he was anti any kind of endurance event. He was like, no, bugger off, I'm not gonna do these. But just that win, I was like, oh, do you fancy doing the Neo 24-hour race with us? And he's like, sign me up, I'm there, you know. So it has got to give us a great bit of motivation to do these events, and I'm really looking forward to, like, you know, hopefully repeating that kind of result. Maybe even go better. Like I say, we were definitely on for a 1-2 in Sebring, if it weren't for a silly meatball.
You were.
But
the other thing is, and this just proves that the teams work together well right from the get-go, is that the C7 setup that was bought by Apex to us was a good setup. It was a good setup. But then Ethan did some laps, and there's no, oh, well, we're a pro driver, Ethan, you're not. It's even field. And I know that they've got so much respect for our guys. But so Ethan's just said, well, we need this happening in this particular turn. Can we do this with the setup type thing? And they've turned what was already a good setup into what was a great setup. So it's worked out really well. And like AC's just already pushed on, like, yeah, so the team's got pro drivers in the Rallycross, the GTE, and the Porshce World Championship. You know, it's just getting bigger and better, isn't it? And it's something that's really exciting. And obviously, you know, localized as well with the SCOP series. You know, we're pretty competitive in that. So yeah, it's so things are going well. And the other thing is, and AC hasn't touched on it, and I know I haven't either, is that it's a lot of damn hard work and a lot of hours running a team. It's crazy. And AC and I feed off each other so well in regards to, you know, getting things done type thing. And to be honest with you, AC's been doing this longer than I have, and he knows a lot of things. And he's got, you know, good base over there. Haven't you? I don't know. Pulling a face at the moment for those.
Teach me your ways.
Yeah, but, you know, like, so we feed off each other pretty well there, and I'm always keen to help out more, and he's, you know, always got stuff to do. So yeah, it's whilst we're doing a lot of stuff now, once it's all up and running, it'll start running itself. You know what I mean? So and our drivers are contracted as well. We haven't touched on that. So they've signed contracts that will last into the future as well. So yeah, we've taken that next step as well. So yeah, hopefully in time it'll all start looking after itself a lot more.
Well, it's interesting you say that. Oh yeah, tequila on the beach. That reminds me of the marbles game last night, Kessie. Tequila. Anyway, that's another story. If anyone wants to watch Kessie's Twitch stream and we stream marbles while Kessie drinks shot after shot, then that'll be on most weekends. It's really interesting to say the least. But
it's a good precursor to Scops.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no drinking and driving, people. But listen, Brenton, just quickly, because you did mention about the contracts in place, I think that we'd love to have a bit of another discussion with a few of you guys, and Alex and Brenton, you guys would be perfect for this, and maybe a few others, about the state of sponsorship and contracts and where sim racing is headed as far as the amount of I don't know, there's money involved nowadays, obviously, too. We'd like to get a bit of that out there and into the open. Not, obviously, what you guys are doing behind the scenes, but just the whole the concept of sponsorship and drivers getting paid and contracted. But maybe for another day. I hope you guys can come on again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, before we go, do you guys want to give a shout out? Even though Brenton, you're a walking billboard at the moment, but want to give any shout outs, Brenton and Alex?
Over to you, Brendan, first off.
Well, obviously, walking billboard. So people know our association with Logitech G, speedcafe.com. West End Mazda have come on board with us for Scops as well, so thanks to Jamie for that as well. But it's more than just the sponsors that pay and give quality product. It's guys like yourself who do what you do to promote it. So, like, it's all well and good to have sponsors, but if you've got a sponsor inside of a closet that's not getting out there and being shown, well, what does it mean? Do you know what I mean? So for you to do what you're doing now, and, you know, for Apex Racing TV, SimSpeed, RaceSpot, you know, through the social media side of things as well. Yeah, and the drivers as well. They do their job. You know, Ethan was at the Grand Prix today. He won the VRS thing at the Modem Simulators tent today. wearing his ERT kit, you know. So things like that, the word gets around. But also, I'd like to thank AC. You know, whilst he's here, you know, such an easy guy to work with, true pro in everything that he does, and really relaxed about things. Like, I might come up with some ideas, and he might just shake his head and go, "What the hell are you thinking?" and he'll find another way around it. But, you know, at the end of the day, we are where we want to be, and we are doing what we want to do, and we both believe it will be successful. And if we didn't, we wouldn't be doing it. And I know that if he didn't want to do it, he can flick the switch at any time, and I'm sure he probably thinks the same thing. But we don't have any plans on doing that.
AC?
Yeah, and just to echo, really, thank you to you guys. You know, it's good to be in here, get to know a community the other side of the world. You know, so it's going to be a steep learning curve of what's going on over there, but I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, to all of our sponsors as well, Logitech, speakap.com, SDK Gaming, which we need to throw in there as well. So, and to all the guys that are just working together so well behind the scenes at the minute. So, just looking forward to the future and everything else like that.
Great stuff, guys. Well, thanks so much again for the first ever iRacing Flatchat's visual podcast. We'll be back again in probably next week or the one after. But Alex, Brenton, Norrie, Chris, thanks so much for tonight, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Look forward to it.